desert wind carried the scent of roses and regret. Jedediah Stone watched as Elias Thorne was led away, the glint of the irons a stark counterpoint to the rustling leaves of the sprawling estate's gardens. Elara, her arm still in a sling, leaned heavily on him as they stood on the veranda steps. "He's a viper," she murmured, her voice low, laced with a weariness that mirrored his own. "A beautiful, poisonous viper." Jedediah nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant mountains, their peaks blurred by the heat shimmer. "He's been shielded for too long. His father, that old fool, built a fortress around him, believing money could buy innocence." The photograph lay face down on the veranda table, a silent accusation. It depicted Silas Blackwood and a much younger Elias Thorne standing beside a claim stake, grinning with the cocky assurance of men who believe they own the world. The silver claim. The genesis of their falling out. "He hired a man to scare Blackwood," Jedediah said, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "A drifter. Paid him to rough him up. When that didn't work, he upped the ante." "But why?" Elara asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What was so important about that claim?" Jedediah sighed, a raspy sound that seemed to carry the weight of the territory. "It wasn't just about the silver, Elara. It was about power. Thorne wanted Blackwood's stake, and Blackwood wouldn't sell. He dove too deep, started asking questions." "Questions about what?" Jedediah hesitated. He's been wrestling with that question himself. "I don't know everything yet." Blackwood was looking into something bigger than just a single claim. Something that involved other people, powerful people. The man in the hat was still out there, the ghost swallowed by the desert. Jedediah had found nothing but faint tracks and a lingering scent of cheap tobacco. "He's a hired gun, but who hired him? And who hired ****? He turned back to the house, his gaze drawn to a glint of red nestled amongst the roses in the garden. He knelt, carefully pulling away the thorny branches. It was a ruby, small but exquisitely cut, reflecting the sunlight with an unsettling brilliance. A ruby identical to the one Blackwood always wore pinned to his vest. "What is it?" Elara asked, approaching cautiously. "It belonged to Blackwood," Jedediah said, turning the gem over in his fingers. "He lost it a week before he died. Said it brought him bad luck." He slipped the ruby into an evidence pouch. "It's a piece of the puzzle." He stood, the wind whipping his hat against his face. He felt a profound sense of unease. They had caught one viper, but the nest was far from quiet. He knew that Elias Thorne's confession wasn't the end. It was merely the beginning of a deeper, darker truth. "There's something else going on here, Elara. Something Blackwood was digging into that reaches far beyond Copper Canyon." A flicker of movement in the woods bordering the estate caught his eye. He squinted, but the heat shimmer distorted his vision. He couldn't be sure, but he thought he saw a figure disappear behind a cluster of scrub oak. He felt a chill crawl down his spine, despite the oppressive heat. He knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his gut, that the fight was far from over. He mounted his horse, the leather creaking softly. "Stay here, Elara." "Where are you going?" "I need to follow Ali," he said, his voice grim. "Something tells me the man in the hat wasn't working alone." He spurred his horse, riding towards the woods, disappearing into the shadows, leaving Elara standing alone on the veranda, her face etched with worry. The ruby felt cold against his palm, a silent promise of a truth that would be bought with pain and sacrifice. The desert wind carried the scent of roses and regret, a fitting backdrop to a story that was far from over. He glanced back at the mountains, their peaks obscured by the heat haze. The truth lay hidden somewhere out there, waiting to be uncovered, and he knew with a heavy heart that the journey would be long and perilous.